Okay, my friend, there's only one place to start. I would argue the biggest game of the season of the Premier League so far, certainly one of the defining games of the Premier League so far this season. Liverpool hosted a Manchester City team that had gone 6 games in all competitions without a win. A Liverpool team that were flying, going the other way, getting results against Madrid in the Champions League. Premier League champions come to town, and Liverpool get the job done in some style, in some respects. Rob, give us your big picture takes of the Liverpool win and how they went about it.
Well, I think most people that saw this game upcoming would have probably said this about this scoreline. I think if we'd asked predictions on terms of score,
how do you think it'll go?
I think most people thought that Liverpool were going to win the game. It kind of went as I think, certainly myself and a lot of people thought it went. Liverpool showed us the different sides of their game. Yeah. They showed us the fierce start that they had, the energy from Anfield, the proactive nature that they can play and they can create on the front foot. Second half, more passive, more counter-attack. Yeah. But equally as deadly. And I think the second half's going on, Rob, and we're saying, City look better, realising that they are better, but that means that there's probably going to be a chance for Liverpool on the counter-attack, and there was one where Mo Salah should have scored earlier on. But the biggest thing I learned today from Liverpool, because it went kind of how we expected, is the midfield. And the power. Yeah. And there was moments in the second half where I see Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister doing their thing. It reminded me of the Jurgen Klopp midfield of Wijnaldum and Henderson and Fabinho. And that power and the energy that they had that protected the back four. Now, the back four in great fettle, Virgil van Dijk is absolutely playing at his peak, but the midfield energy and Gravenberch, Rob, is he's doing his defensive thing, but coming out on the ball and going by a couple of people, that was the highlight for me as the midfield today for Liverpool.
There was an athleticism in the middle of the park for Liverpool that Manchester City couldn't live with. And you've got to remember, they had Gundogan in there at times. They had Rico Lewis or Bernardo Silva
was in there as a
who just didn't really have just the athleticism to get close to that Liverpool, as you say, stronghold in the middle of the field. I think for me, Rob, looking back on the game, in some respects it went as I thought. I felt the momentum was with Liverpool. What Liverpool can do now, maybe different to the Klopp Liverpool, is put on the control button. There's a button that says, OK, we don't have to be going forward to score every week. We don't have to be making chances every time we get the ball. Sometimes we control the ball with possession and opposition, which is actually City's thing, which is something they've lost. I think the other thing that I take away, Rob, is individual players who've brought another 5, 10, 15% to the game. We were talking on the match. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a more disciplined, focused defender than we've ever seen under Jurgen Klopp.
Yep.
Ryan Gravenberch is an absolute find, an athletic, strong, defensive, modern midfield player who can break play up and who can start counter-attacks.
And he gets through too as well sometimes. He does get box-to-box a couple of times.
Virgil van Dijk is back to the Virgil van Dijk we saw prior to the injury. Interesting you talk about the midfield. Curtis Jones, who's been something sort, just doesn't get a shot today. We're talking about depth in the squad. No Núñez in the starting lineup. Just individuals, Rob. Kelleher, the young goalkeeper, deserves some credit. Another clean sheet, another commanding performance. Came up with a couple of big moments when he was needed. The man management of a number of players, and I'm even going to put Mo Salah in there. And I know the contract talk and people haven't liked it and whatever. Mo Salah still delivering for Liverpool. He was still a threat one-on-one every time he gave him the ball. He puts a penalty away. He guarantees you goal from the left-hand side of the Premier League more than anybody else in the league. And he looks happier than I've seen him. I know the contract thing is there, and that will continue to go over the next 6 months, possibly. But there doesn't seem any signs, Rob, of towards the end of the Jurgen Klopp era, and maybe we've said it a couple of times, there was a few unhappy bunnies in the camp. There was a little bit of a thing with Trent. There was a little thing with Robinson. Now and then we saw him having a go at Núñez and Diaz and Klopp. And maybe it was it was the right time after all they've done together, which is right.
Isn't it sometimes it's just good to get a fresh...
Exactly
and
that.
It gets a little stale, people get a little agitated, but there's a little bit of that going on. You bring a new guy in, which is a big thing after what Klopp had done. But it's remarkable, Robbie, just how well he's done. Yeah. It really is, and the changes
that he's made. Especially coming from Dutch football, mate, where we often say with Dutch, either managers or players, they struggle a bit when they come to the Premier League. Yeah. Don't get the intensity, don't get, the week to week what it's going to happen. Players, we always say, well, if you score in the Eredivisie, it's another step to come in the Premier League.
To be a regular scorer in the Premier League.
Yeah. This guy has made the step from not just taking over a team, Rob, but taking over a team and improving them.
And another thing to mention today as well, and, Ibrahima Konate has been brilliant for them. Yeah. Missed him today. Yeah. And I thought, that might be
Joe Gomez.
I just think, isn't it another example, Rob, when a team is really playing well, that it can handle a couple of injuries.
Things in.
You can plug it a little bit. And City have done that brilliantly over the last few seasons,
Absolutely.
of course. Their players are out, they rotate, people come in, and nothing really changes. That's what it's like with Liverpool right now. They're such in a good spot that you can lose certain, not many of them, but they lost a couple today. I mean, I guess Trent comes back in as a normal right back anyway. Conor Bradley's out injured, but Joe Gomez did a really good job. Robertson I was a little bit worried about. He's been not quite at his best level the last few weeks. Had a sound game as well.
Yeah, made a couple of good runs forward.
Fully deserved victory, wasn't it? It was a fully deserved victory with different sides to what they can do, and a 9-point lead at the top, Rob, down to Arsenal now, which I think Arsenal are going to be their biggest contender. I mean, we'll get on to talk about Chelsea, but that was such a big step in terms of, we joke a little bit in the studio about, is that one hand on the trophy? Because it's such, and it's really, really early to talk about that. But that was as impressive as you might have expected.
That was more comfortable than I've seen any Jurgen Klopp team take on Manchester City. Now, I know City not in great form, and I know they're missing so many players, and there's lots of reasons why. But there was another edge to Liverpool. It's like they've got another, as you say, those options that they can go to. I think one area I just want to give Arne Slot a bit more credit as well, Rob, is when I was listening to the press conferences last night, he was talking about Pep and says what's great about Pep is he's a problem solver and he finds a solution often in very different ways. And I thought it was very gracious of him. Arne Slot is a problem solver. When there's a problem, mate, and it's not always X's and O's, he's obviously a very talented and acute tactician. But sometimes he talks about energy and effort. I always go back to the first game at Ipswich, where Ipswich were beating Liverpool up a little bit. It wasn't going to form. He took off Quansah, he put on Konate, he said, we start winning duels, they won the game. I see today in the game, the first thing he talked about was we started with good energy and effort, despite, obviously the overrunning in midfield and the threat from Salah, all the tactical stuff. There was an interesting point, and it was around 70-ish minutes on the clock when Doku and Savinho come on, and Doku was on the left-hand side and started to give Trent a little bit of a problem.
He did, yeah.
And it was almost like, it was 1-0 at the time, and the game could have been in the balance. And straight away he says to Quansah, on you come. Now, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Quansah's going to come on with Van Dijk, and Gomez will go out to right back, and Gomez maybe deals defensively better with Doku. No, he went with Quansah and went, you go right back. One change in the defence, not two. You go to right back. Now, he obviously, understands and knows Quansah and believes in his one-on-one ability to defend, and then not to upset the back two partnership that had done well, that kept Erling Haaland relatively quiet, even though we had a few reservations about Joe Gomez just in terms of size in the box. But again, Rob, he solved the problem. And the moment Quansah came on, distinguished the threat from Doku.
Yeah, he also tweaked the game against Real Madrid at Anfield, second half, where they tweaked it a little bit. They overloaded the left side, left the right side a little bit more open for Bradley and for Mo Salah to do their thing. And everything he's doing at the moment, everything's touching stone into gold.
Correct.
Now, I think we both think there's going to...
There's a dip coming, my friend.
There is
a
dip coming.
At some point. I don't know how that looks.
Yeah, before we get to City, and I think we talked about it on the show, like, there's so many other players that can come in. Harvey Elliott came into the field. Curtis Jones has been brilliant in their midfield. There's your cover. We know about the cover, the attacking options. Darwin Núñez come off the bench. He even got that right, didn't he? Luis Diaz didn't have his best game, but who scores the first goal? Cody Gakpo. Gakpo played on the left-hand side, comes in. He's a goal threat from the left-hand side, as well as Diaz in the centre, with Mo Salah. I mean, options up front, tick the box.
Yeah, we know that.
Midfield now, where a few weeks ago I'd be like...
Weren't too sure, were we?
Don't know about...
What's the balance?
that looks like Szoboszlai stepped up today, Rob, for me.
Yeah, he
stepped up in terms of energy and effort.
Big pull, wasn't it? Yeah.
And this continues to have this excellent defensive record. Yeah. And a goalkeeper, the number 2, the superb. So in terms of every single department of the team, excellent. And it's like, it's tough to see how it's going to
Real football tells you, history in the game, career in the game tells you, this doesn't last forever, mate. There's, I know they've had one bad day against Forest and got caught on a counter-attack and that, but they're going to lose a game.
Yeah, they lost 1, right? Yeah. And it's 13 games in. Yeah. If they keep going at the same rate, they're going to lose 3
over a season.
And they're going to win it if they keep, obviously at the same rate. They've won 11 out of 13 Premier League games.
But when you go top and when people start talking as favourites and all the thing, there's another pressure. And we know that Lee Dixon, our friend, has told us all about that when he's won at Arsenal. Graham Mustoe at Blackburn. We saw it with Arsenal over the years, that it was okay to a certain degree, and then it started to affect you.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say in defence of Liverpool and Arne Slot is, I think he's got the whereabouts to, as a problem, you might have a problem one day, you lose a game. I think he'll solve the problem the next game. He's a guy who makes big, bold decisions, generally they're right. Because they've got different ways to win the game. Man City win games through their possession and their attacking edge and don't give the ball away. We know what that. Liverpool can do it different ways. Liverpool can tough it out.
They did. Today was a different way.
They
First
can
half,
tough it
second
out.
half. Yeah, they can, and it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, we said a few weeks ago, more than that, probably a couple of months ago, we haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
Well, they have now. They have now, and they look stunning. Just as quickly.
Let's talk about Man City today.
Yeah. The fact that Ilkay Gundogan plays alongside Bernardo Silva blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I know there's not a ton of options in there. There's not. But you could have done something different. You could have played Matheus Nunes, who can run.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's a brilliant defensive.
Could you stuck a Kanji in there? Because he looked like he was trying to do that a little bit second off when they had a bit of possession and Kanji came in. So could Lewis have gone one full-back? Could Walker have gone the other? Ake and maybe...
Gvardiol has had a nightmare recently, right?
Yeah.
He could have started at left-back, which makes a Kanji could have played in midfield.
Yeah, I just feel they lacked a bit of presence in midfield, didn't they? When you look at Gundogan, Silva and Rico Lewis, no one's over 5'6". They're brilliant footballers, great technicians, and I'm not in any way criticising them. Yeah. But sometimes just having somebody who's with a bit of size and stature who can get around the pitch just gives it a different look.
I think we disagree on something about City, where I said before the game, like, I think Rebecca ask us on a show about Arsenal fans.
Yesterday,
what's the best result for an Arsenal fan? And I said a Man City win, because I think Liverpool need to be slowed down. Yeah. And if Man City slow them down a little bit, which they would have done with a victory, that I still believe that Arsenal, if you're an Arsenal fan, I still believe that City aren't the same team this year. They're not going to win it, even if they won the game today, where you thought...
think, I think if City get that back to 5 points and start getting people back, and we've seen City brilliant over the years. We've seen a very different City over the last 6-7 games that we've never seen before. But you give this team a sniff of a title. You give them a sniff of a title, they will come back and have it.
Not with the players that's long term out for the team and the way that where they are right now in the league table, the results of this. But we've seen a third of the season, Rob. This is a third of the season. In 13 games, their goal difference is only +3. This is going to be an off season for Man City, and I mean, it doesn't matter now because they didn't win the game, but is it any more than an off-season? Is it a rebuild? Or I'll tell you what I think.
The question.
I think there's a few players to come back, obviously.
Yeah.
When they get back, they're going to be pretty close to what they were. Yeah. But there will be some tweaks needed in January or in the summer to get back to winning the Premier League title.
My point would be that the gap now to Liverpool, under Slot, doing what they're doing, is too big to close down. I think if the gap was any smaller, Manchester City would still have a chance.
Yeah, well, they might have done, but I just don't think it's going to be their year this year.
Well, it was definitely Liverpool's day today. Yeah, great 2-0 world clean sheet, 2 goals, and 11-point gap now to Manchester City in the title race.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.